Attention gun owners, a brand new Supreme Court decision just changed what can happen during stops. If you carry legally, one wrong move could still cost you $12,740. Last Friday, Patricia, 72, in Seattle, got ordered out of her car. She'd done nothing illegal, yet her stomach dropped like a rock. The officer hinted at a search and her hands started shaking. She thought, how can I be legal and still feel trapped? Before I explain what this new decision means for you, quick question. Are you subscribed to this channel, or are you hoping luck protects you? People who aren't subscribed miss updates that hit without warning. Then they learn the rules in a courtroom, not on their couch. Hit subscribe now, because this stuff moves fast and gets people hurt. Here's the big problem you're facing right now, and it's not theoretical. Police stops feel routine until the word gun enters the conversation. Then a simple traffic issue can turn into a stressful legal situation. You might think your permit is a shield, but confusion creates risk. This decision clears some things up, but it also exposes new traps. You've probably asked these questions in your own head before. If you're carrying legally, can an officer search your pockets anyway? If the officer asks where your gun is, do you have to answer? If you say the wrong thing, can you accidentally give up rights? And if you stay silent, can silence be used against you later? This ruling matters because it draws a sharper line than before. It says lawful carry by itself isn't a free pass to search you. Your rights don't disappear just because you're exercising another right. That's a relief, but it doesn't mean every encounter will feel safe. The messy part is how officers decide you're dangerous in real time. Let me put it in plain terms you can remember under pressure. A legal firearm doesn't automatically make you suspicious or searchable, but an officer can still take steps if they believe you're a threat. That belief must be based on clear facts, not just a hunch. Your behavior and your words can become those facts in seconds. So the new reality is this: you need calm discipline, not bravado. This isn't about winning an argument on the side of the road. It's about getting home without cuffs, charges, or a ruined weekend. You can be right and still lose if you handle the moment badly. And that's why you're watching this, because you don't want surprises. Here's what frustrates me, and it should frustrate you too. For years, some decent people were treated like problems for carrying. They followed rules, paid fees, trained, and still got treated like suspects. That's backwards, and it turns basic freedom into a constant anxiety. This decision pushes back, but only if you use it wisely. This makes me angry because confusion rewards the wrong people. It rewards the officer who stretches a stop into a fishing trip. It punishes the quiet, respectful person who doesn't know key phrases. And it punishes families, because one bad stop can drain savings fast. I've seen costs like $4,180 to $18,360 just to fight back. Now let's get practical, because theory won't help you in real life. You need to know what you can refuse and what you must do. You must follow lawful orders, like stepping out or showing hands. But you don't have to volunteer permission for searches you don't want. That one difference can change everything, and I'll show you how. Let me tell you about Thomas. He's 74 years old and lives in Denver, Colorado. He drives a small pickup and helps at his church every Tuesday. One afternoon, he got stopped for a license plate light. He mentioned his carry permit, and the tension in the air changed. 2 minutes later, the officer asked if Thomas had anything else inside. Thomas felt his throat tighten because he knew what that meant. The officer asked to take a quick look in the cab. Thomas almost said yes because he didn't want trouble. Then he remembered his neighbor's story about a $9,115 legal bill. The stop got sharper when Thomas reached toward his glove box slowly. The officer stepped closer and told him to keep hands visible. Thomas froze, embarrassed, and could feel sweat under his collar. The officer started talking about safety and hinted at a pat-down. Thomas realized the way he moved looked suspicious, even though he meant well. Thomas took a breath and changed his approach immediately. He said he'd follow commands and keep his hands on the wheel. He also said he didn't consent to any search of the vehicle. The officer still ran checks, but the stop didn't expand further. Thomas drove away shaken, but he avoided the mistake that ruins people. Quick pause so I can help you better. What state are you watching from right now, and where do you carry? Drop your state in the comments so I understand your local rules. Different states treat disclosure, transport, and permits in different ways. Your comment also helps this reach people who really need it today. Now let's talk about why Thomas's story matters for you. A stop can escalate without anyone doing anything wrong on purpose. Small movements look big when an officer is tense and watching. That's why your goal is to remove uncertainty from the scene. Slow hands, clear speech, and no sudden reaching can protect you. This decision strengthens you in one main way you can actually use. It supports the idea that lawful carry alone isn't enough for a search. That means an officer needs extra facts before going into your car. But it also means the officer will watch for extra facts. Don't accidentally hand them those facts with nervous behavior. Let me tell you about Barbara. She's 69 years old and lives in Charlotte, North Carolina. She's a retired nurse and carries to feel safer on late errands. One evening, she left a grocery store and found police nearby. There'd been a report of shoplifting, and everyone felt on edge. An officer asked Barbara to stop and answer a few questions. She complied, but her voice trembled because crowds make her anxious. The officer noticed and asked if she had any weapons. Barbara said yes and pointed toward her purse without thinking. That one gesture changed the whole tone, and her heart started pounding. Things escalated when the officer said he needed to check the purse. Barbara felt trapped because refusing sounded like guilt in her mind. She also worried about her medication inside and private medical paperwork. The officer talked quickly, and she couldn't process what was optional. She imagined missing her grandkids' recital over something stupid and small. Barbara steadied herself and asked one simple clarifying question. She said, "Am I being detained? Or am I free to leave now?" The officer paused, then gave instructions to step back and keep hands visible. Barbara followed orders, but she didn't hand over permission for a search. The encounter ended without a purse dump, and she went home exhausted. If that story scares you, good, because it should. Fear isn't weakness here. It's a warning signal that keeps you careful. The most dangerous moment is when you're polite but confused. Confusion makes you say yes to things you never meant to allow. And once you consent, your rights don't protect you the same way. Here's what frustrates me all over again. People are told, if you've got nothing to hide, cooperate fully. That advice sounds nice, but it ignores how real life works. Cooperate can quietly turn into surrender, and you won't notice. Then you're stuck fighting a case you never expected to face. Also, you need to understand the pat-down issue in simple language. Officers can sometimes do a quick weapons check for safety, but they need a reason to think you're not just armed, but risky. That reason can't be guns exist or I don't like guns. It has to be specific behavior or context that suggests a real danger. So, what counts as risky behavior in their eyes, even if you're harmless? Fast reaching, angry arguing, refusing basic commands, or acting unpredictable. Even constant fidgeting can look like you're hiding something or preparing. That's why you must practice calm, like it's part of your training. Your mindset is as important as your holster, your safe, and your permit. Real quick, if you're getting value from this, hit the like button. It tells the algorithm this is important, not just entertainment. That helps more lawful owners learn the rules before a bad stop. It takes 1 second, and it supports the channel more than you think. Go ahead and tap like now, then stay with me. Let me tell you about Richard. He's 76 years old and lives in Indianapolis, Indiana. He volunteers at a youth center and carries on late-night drives home. One night, he got pulled over because his speed drifted slightly. He was tired, and his hands shook as he reached for documents. Richard mentioned he was carrying because he thought honesty was safest. The officer asked where the firearm was, and Richard answered calmly. Then the officer asked if there were other items in the trunk. Richard panicked and said, "You can check if you want, to be nice." He didn't realize that kindness can become a legal doorway. The search turned up nothing serious, but it still created a nightmare. The officer found an old pocket knife and treated it like a big deal. Richard ended up sitting roadside for almost an hour, embarrassed and angry. Later, his attorney said the consent made it harder to challenge anything. Richard spent $6,430 just to make the problem finally go away. Richard's outcome wasn't prison, but it was still punishment. He lost money, time, sleep, and trust in a system he respected. He told me he felt foolish because he caused his own problem. His lesson is simple. Don't say yes just to appear cooperative. You can be respectful without giving away protections you might need. Now let's shift from anger into something better. Hope with a plan. The court's message in plain terms is that rights can coexist. Carrying legally doesn't erase your protection against unreasonable searches. That gives you a stronger foundation if you ever need to challenge abuse. But you should never aim for court, because court is expensive and slow. Your real win is avoiding the trap before it snaps shut. That means knowing the difference between orders and requests. An order is something you must do, like step out of the car. A request is something you can decline, like mind if I look around. Your job is to respond calmly, clearly, and without hostility. Here's a simple mindset shift you can adopt today. Think of every police encounter as a communication test, not a debate. Your goal is to be boring, predictable, and easy to manage safely. Boring people don't look dangerous, and that lowers the officer's suspicion. When suspicion drops, searches and escalations become less likely. Let me tell you about Karen. She's 70 years old and lives in Portland, Oregon. She carries legally and also takes weekend road trips with friends. At a community event, an officer approached because someone reported a gun. Karen's firearm was holstered, visible, and she was chatting with neighbors. The officer asked if she'd consent to a bag check to be safe. Karen felt annoyed because she wasn't doing anything wrong. She could feel her face getting hot, and her voice started rising. She wanted to lecture the officer about rights and freedom, but she caught herself because she knew anger can become danger fast. The officer then said he needed to ensure the crowd was protected. Karen noticed the officer's eyes kept checking her hands. She realized her frustration could be described later as agitated behavior. That description could justify a pat-down or temporary weapon handling, so she made a choice that protected her, even though it felt unfair. Karen said she would comply with commands but wouldn't consent to searches. She asked if she was free to leave or required to stay. The officer gave instructions to keep hands visible and step aside briefly. Karen followed those instructions and kept her tone even and calm. The officer left, and Karen stayed at the event without drama. Think of someone you care about who carries or keeps a gun nearby. A parent, a sibling, a neighbor, or a friend who hates legal talk. Share this video with them right now while you're thinking about it. Text the link and say, "Watch this before your next traffic stop." Don't wait until later, because later is when people forget. Now you're in the hope zone because you've seen what works. Calm behavior reduces suspicion, and reduced suspicion reduces intrusion. Clear words prevent accidental consent, and accidental consent is a common trap. You can't control every officer, every policy, or every bad day, but you can control what you do with your hands and your words. Let's talk about another piece people mess up all the time. Some states require you to notify an officer you're carrying. Other states don't require that disclosure during a standard stop. You must learn your state's rule, because ignorance can become a charge. Even if you must disclose, disclosure doesn't automatically allow a search. So don't confuse "I have to tell you" with "you can search me." Those are two separate issues, and mixing them causes panic. You can inform when required and still protect your privacy. You can comply with safety instructions and still avoid giving consent. That balance is what responsible, prepared owners practice ahead of time. Also, understand the timing problem that hits right after big decisions. Rules change, but training and habits often lag behind. That means some officers may act like the old rule still applies. If that happens, don't physically resist and don't become confrontational. Instead, stay calm, state your position, and let your lawyer fight later. Here's exactly what you need to do. I'm giving you 5 steps, and each one is simple. You don't need to do all of them today, but start soon. Start with step 1 this week because it reduces risk immediately. Write these down or replay this section and pause as needed. Ready for the plan that keeps you safe and protected? Step 1. Look up your state's disclosure rule for traffic stops and public carry. Use your state government site or a trusted local legal aid page. If you're unsure, call a local firearms instructor and ask where to verify. When you find it, write one sentence you'll say during a stop. Practice that sentence out loud until it comes out steady and calm. Do it this week, because hesitation is when people blurt harmful things. Step 2. Decide now where your documents will be before you ever drive. Put registration and insurance in a fixed spot you can reach slowly. If you carry in a vehicle, avoid placing the gun near those papers. If an officer stops you, say you'll move slowly before you reach. Ask for instructions if you need to access a compartment near the firearm. This prevents sudden movement claims that can trigger a pat-down quickly. Step 3. Memorize a polite refusal that doesn't sound like an argument. You can say, "I don't consent to any searches, but I'll comply." Say it calmly, then stop talking, because rambling creates new problems. If the officer asks again, repeat the same sentence without adding emotion. Don't insult, don't lecture, and don't try to win the roadside trial. The urgency is real, because one careless yes can cost $10,980 later. Step 4. Learn the difference between a request and a lawful command. A request often sounds friendly, like, "Mind if I check your bag?" A command sounds direct, like, "Step out," or "Keep your hands visible." If you're unsure, ask, "Is that a request, or are you ordering me?" That question keeps you respectful while clarifying what you must do. Do this the next time you practice scenarios, because nerves erase logic fast. Step 5. If you believe your rights were violated, document everything afterward. As soon as you're safe, write the time, location, badge number, and facts. Keep it factual, not emotional, because facts help attorneys and judges. If you were searched after refusing consent, contact a licensed attorney promptly. Ask about options, because evidence from an unlawful search can be challenged. Don't delay, because memories fade and video systems don't store footage forever. Let's review what we covered so it sticks in your mind. A new Supreme Court decision affects how stops and lawful carry interact. Legal carry alone shouldn't trigger searches, but your behavior still matters. You learned how consent changes everything, even when you meant to be polite. You also learned how danger claims can grow from small, nervous actions. Millions of stops happen yearly, and mistakes are common in high-stress moments. You now have knowledge that can save money, stress, and your freedom. Here's the final punch you need to hear before you click away. The most expensive words are the ones you say while trying to be nice. A friendly cheer can open doors you can't close later. A heated argument can turn you into a threat in the report. But calm repetition and slow hands can keep the whole stop boring. Boring is good, because boring gets you home with your rights intact. If this helped, here's what to do next. Subscribe so you don't miss the next update that changes the rules again. Share this with someone who carries, even if they think they know it all. Comment your state below, because I want to tailor future videos to you. And if you've had a stop like this, tell your story in the comments. I read what I can, and your engagement helps others find this in time. Important disclaimer: this video is educational only, not legal, financial, tax, or medical advice. Every situation is different, and laws and procedures vary by state. Consult licensed professionals, including attorneys and qualified instructors, before acting. What works for one person may not work for your specific facts. Stay safe, stay calm, and make decisions based on verified local guidance.